Hey, I'm just gonna go over really quick how to use MyFitnessPal and how to track your foods on your own and make sure that you're hitting your macros. So you'll go ahead and download the MyFitnessPal app. It's going to ask you your weight, your age and all of that, and it's going to calculate for you the recommended calories that it has you at, but you won't pay attention to that. You'll just use the ones that I give you. So for example, so here is the app. It says I should be getting that many calories, so I won't pay attention to that. I'm going to pay attention to these calories right here that I'm plugging in, and the values that I would give you is what you would pay attention to. But really the most important part, because the calories are always going to be a little off, that's just kind of depending on how the foods were calculated and stuff. It's they should be spot on, but they tend to not be. So the most important one to pay attention to, and I'll show you here. So here if I can get it to stop being like that. So you're gonna scroll down, and there's this nutrition tab down here. So as you plug in food, you'll be able to see the macro values over here. So you'll have to pick the macro tab. So we'll go ahead and pick that macro tab. So now you should be able to see your carbs, your fats, and your proteins over here, the amount of grams. So you won't pay attention to the percentages that it says, but to the grams, because I will give you the values of how many protein, fat, and carbs in grams you need to be at. So that's what this is the most important part that you want to pay attention to, is this over here. So it's under the macro tab. So I'll just give you an example. So for breakfast, let's say we'll put in some cottage cheese, some mandarin oranges. Okay, so, and as you get good at, as you plug in foods more frequently, it will remember the foods that you have logged before, so it'll be really easy to keep track of it. So for example, so I just put in, like for breakfast, if I had some cottage cheese, some mandarin oranges, so I'll scroll down to that nutrition tab that's at the bottom. I'll hit that. It's already on the macros. So now I'll be able to see where my macro values are at. So with that, I'm at, sorry, it was on the other side. Yeah, so you don't pay attention to the percentages, just the grams. So I'm at 8 grams of carbs, 2 grams fat, 14 grams of protein with that. So my suggestion to you would be, you can track your foods, as you go throughout the day. It's going to be easy to maybe be at the end of the day and you're like, oh shoot, I can't have any more carbs. So personally, I always like to track what I want to eat the next day, the night before. So I'll be like, oh, this sounds good. I'm gonna have this and this and this. So you can make sure that you track it out right, so that it's not like 6 o'clock and you can't have any more carbs. So that'll just help you kind of get in the swing of things, at least at first. So I would pre-track your foods, especially if you know, hey, I'm going out to this dinner or a lunch the next day. Maybe go online, see if you can track like one of the meals that sounds good. That's if you want to be, really spot on. So pre-tracking's always the safest way to go. It'll make sure you hit all your values. I would say really try to not be any more than 2 or 3 to 4 maybe grams off with each value. So I'd really try and stay really close to the values. That'll make a big difference. So I'd say 2 to 3 grams with all of the macronutrients. Make sure your protein, you're getting in your protein. That's really the most important part. It sometimes is the most challenging part for most people. It's easy to get in extra fat and carbs, but it's those protein, the protein you got to keep make sure you keep it up. So I think that's it. So it's really simple. So just basically, not your calorie range should be, you know, within the range that I give you. But really it's those macronutrients that you really should be paying attention to the whole time. Also make sure that when you're tracking foods, I would double check that sometimes when you pick like a certain type of chicken in MyFitnessPal, sometimes the protein is not accurate. So make sure you're picking foods that are accurate in what they are saying they are. So, you know, especially with your protein, some chickens, like if there's a generic chicken that you pick on there, sometimes the amount of protein will be incorrect. So I would just Google it and make sure. I think Fat Tracker, I think that's a good one, but it should bring up, you know, just basically what, like 4 ounces of chicken, how much protein should be in 4 ounces of chicken. So that way you can make sure that it's on, because I know when I first started doing this, my numbers, when I wasn't double checking things, could be way off, and you could be eating a lot more protein than you need to be. So just be careful with that. And I think that's it. So if you guys have any questions about tracking your own macros, just talk to me about it. I'd love to help you. And yeah, so good luck tracking your own macros.